This video is sponsored by Gladiator PC because winning matters. Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mysterious Mr. Ryan and welcome to Blackwater Castle. Blackwater Castle is a build I've been working on for the past week and a half now, and I can honestly say it's the build that has taken so much of my time to do. I've put so much energy, design work and so many hours into this build. This is the first build with my new sponsors Gladiator PC, who have kindly offered to sponsor me, so thank you very much. Please check out their link in the description down below. But for now, let's just jump straight into the build. So while I'm working on the ground floor here, just working on the general layout, the reason for this build very simply is because the Knight Citadel, the first castle build I did, received so much love and so many likes, and a lot of people watched it and really enjoyed it, and I've received so many downloads on the gallery for it and comments. The problem is though, a lot of people were complaining because it was so big and designed on the 50x50 lot, a lot of people couldn't use it, or if they could, it would made their game quite slow and sluggish. So I wanted to design something that was complex yet a little more compact. So this is sort of a compact kind of castle. I saw a build very similar to it on the internet recently. It gave me the sort of shell to work with, and I've tried to make it my own quite a lot, but the actual base of it is a design I did see on the internet which I kind of fell in love with, so I've kind of put my own twist and I hope you like it. So while I'm going around working on the granulated walls and on the turrets and such for each of the floors, I'm going to talk a little bit about the build itself. So while I'm working on the foundation to raise it up and putting this nice black border on it, the build itself is something that has taken me probably about 2.5 weeks worth of actual planning. I've had the idea for a little while. The actual working on it itself is something I've worked on pretty much non-stop for the last week and a half, pretty much in every waking hour. So as I go around then, you can see I've placed down a drawbridge, something that my first castle didn't have, and I'm working on a moat. Now the moat itself is using the swimming pools rather than the fountains that I used previously. I wanted a moat that gave a bit of depth to it rather than just that little shallow kind of water fountains that, although it worked and gave a good effect at the time, wasn't really perfect and not ideal. Ideally I would have loved to have been able to just draw my own water like you can change the colour of terrain, but unfortunately until EA put that into the game, I'm making do with the materials I have. So the actual build itself, I can honestly say, is probably taken, as I said, it's going to be about a week and a half of non-stop work, probably about 6 hours of actual planning. The actual design itself was somewhere in the region of about 27 hours of in a test world sitting here going over design, shape, styles, and the actual recording of it, in the end the raw footage was just over 3 hours. So yeah, not a small build. As we go around placing the last parts of the moat itself though, the castle is based on 3 layers. There's a ground floor, a middle floor and a top floor. The top floor is where the master bedroom is. The ground floor is kind of like a hallway, basic kitchen and dining area, and the middle floor is, there's 2 bedrooms there. There's also a nice library, which you'll see a little bit later, and a couple of places to come and sit down and sort of read or play some chess and just have a relaxing time. As I work on the top now, this is working on the crenulations, which give the top a bit of definition. Now some of this does seem a bit strange about the placements, especially this area here, which will become a bit clear when I actually put roofs on this, but they basically act as a border to give a bit of definition. For the main turrets here, I wanted to give the roof something a bit different. Now ideally I would have loved to have used domes to give a really good spire effect, but I made do by using interlocking diagonals and perpendicular pieces, which worked really nicely. For the main build itself, I wanted to put some little turrets on it. Nothing too much, I just wanted something subtle, so the 1x1 square at the maximum height gave that effect really nicely. The main roof I wanted to give a nice slow sort of shallow apex with that little jutting out extension off the side to make it look like the balcony had its own roof, which I think the design actually worked out really well in the end, something I was pleasantly surprised about. As I work here, I'm just placing some balcony parts here, like some columns and such. Just to clarify as well, there are a few cheats in place at the moment. I have got move objects in place, I've got show hidden items, and I also have for the first time ever a cheat which unlocks every single unlockable item. So I've got everything unlocked in this, only for the purpose of this build, bearing in mind. But if you do want to do this, you may need to have those downloaded or unlocked. I'm not sure. If you don't have them in your base game, I believe the download will just come with those items missing. So as I work on the actual wallpapering itself, so you can see I've chosen to use this nice close black brick for the main part of the build, but this loose pebble dash basically just as a highlighting tool for some of the balconies, that front part, and also for the main turrets. I think it's one of those things, I wasn't going to use it, I was going to leave the whole thing black, but the whole wall kind of just faded into one, so it gave it that separation. So as we work on the courtyard here, you can see I've placed down those nice open bricks either side and that loose brick in the middle. And for the front, as you can see here, there are 3 arches. Now, I wanted to actually open this build up a little bit, so there are actually no front doors on this build whatsoever. It's all arches, which, as nice as it looks, something I didn't account for is only when I actually went in to actually record some of the later parts of this, I actually found that when I moved a sim in, Sims, would you believe, will just walk into your house regardless of whether there's a door or not. They don't knock, nothing. So bear that in mind. If you do downloads for yourself, you may want to put a door in if you do find Sims walking into your house a little bit rude. Not gonna lie, I found it slightly awkward. So just working on some windows now. For the main upstairs, wanted to utilise those little turrets sticking out the side. This build is pretty lit up in comparison. The Knight Citadel is one of those builds, it was really nice, it looked good, but the problem is it wasn't very livable at times. The walls were completely useless. The gatehouse was a nice touch, but overall again pretty useless. The only thing on the 50 by 50 lot that was useful was the inside walls and the actual keep itself. So I wanted to do something that actually allowed you to use most of the castle. So I've opened most of it up, but as you can see there are certain walls that are closed off. The only reason I've done this is purely for the fact that I ran out of stuff to put in the build. It's actually, for a relatively small build as size wise go, is actually really big, and to keep within the theme I actually ran out of stuff to put in there, so I actually sealed off some of the walls because I didn't want to actually waste the space by just cluttering it up with pointless stuff. So bear that in mind if you do want to get this and download this for yourself. There is space for you to actually develop, put your own stuff in there, so just bear that in mind. Just placing down the last parts of the window and just moving on to the last roofs now. You can see the roofs are a nice shade of red on the most part. These will be changing colour shortly once I finish the design work. So just again something subtle, nothing too much, just something to highlight those sides to make the roof have a little bit more than just the granulation. But now it's time to work on the inside itself. So the interior walls on the ground floor. So the rooms themselves will become a bit more apparent with what they are shortly, but as we move on to what is the main sort of opening corridor, should I say, this is an interesting flooring style which is something I found on the internet, fell in love with, and had to put my own twist on it. So what I've done here is place down 2 squares in black marble and then place down the white marble to create that kind of compass in the middle. Now if you do this over under technique, it's something so subtle but it makes the mosaic on the floor look so 3D. There was a small mistake there, as you can see. I had to go in and correct that. I just think it adds so much 3D element to such a plain floor and just gives it that little bit more excitement. With this build I wanted to keep everything as sort of open as I could. I didn't want to have too many sort of regimented rooms, so as you can see here there's now a nice darker floor used for what will become the kitchen, and a really dark oak floor in the dining room. So nice green mat in the dining room. If you notice with this build, I've used some colours I wouldn't usually use, like you see a lot more green and yellow in this build. I found that after checking my footage back and looking at some of my other builds, I use certain colours a lot more than others it seems, so wanted to try and use some less used colours if I could. Just working on the last part of the dining room now. I put down a couple of curtains, a bit of decorative stuff, and then move into a little bit of a corridor outside, place down a couple of lights, and just a couple of little bits of artwork. Now I know the dining room isn't going to get used very much, as in like your Sims won't walk a lot of that way to find somewhere to sit, especially not with the breakfast bar that I put in the kitchen, but I wanted that nice element that you could just have there so you could get your guests to go in there and have a nice sit down dinner if you had Sims over. So just working on the kitchen itself, placing down a few cupboards, a nice fridge, a few work surfaces, and a nice cooker and sink combination. Now here's the breakfast bar I was talking about. It's not a huge breakfast bar, bearing in mind. It's only a 2 by 3 area, and just there's just 6 chairs around it. Again, sticking with the yellow, as I said, I wanted to use some less used colours. You will notice that one of the chairs has disappeared when I do my final render a bit later on. I'm not sure why it disappeared, but I can assure you in the final download it is there. Just as we place down some decorative items, as you can see some of those are the locked items I've used, especially the easel there, and just lighting up as we go. So here is an area I wanted to give your Sims somewhere to come and sit and play some chess, just have a nice relaxing time a bit by the fire. Again though, wanted to have a place that Sims could come and read, so here is just a couple of curtains going down, a couple of bookcases, and now it's time for a little bit of a sitting area, as I just go around placing down a few more curtains I've forgotten. So again, as I said, just a nice table, nice chairs, and a couple of sofas down, a mirror image this time, another chessboard. Again, it's one of those things, I think it's just a subtle touch, but I do believe it makes all the difference in your build and means that you can have your Sims playing lots of different multiple chessboards. Now here's a part I really like. This is something I worked hard on. It took a while to get right, but I'm really pleased with it. The library. Now it's sort of more of a library come smoking room kind of thing. It's one of those sort of areas you come and sit down and relax after dinner. You can pick up a book, you can have a nice discussion. So a couple of bits of artwork, a nice table and chairs, along with a couple of bookcases. There's not too much in the way of bookcases in here, but again, it's just that subtle place. It's nice to come in there and sit down. A nice grand piano for the entrance hall, along with a couple of suits of armour. Suits of armour are something that I do believe are underrated, and I really do enjoy using them. So just a few placed down in the entrance hall. So here we go, working on the bathroom. Now this is the only bathroom in the house, and I have to admit it's quite a big bathroom, and would you believe there are not that many toiletry items to put in there. So I placed down a couple of showers, a couple of toilets, a couple of sinks in there as well, and I do something a little bit unusual. I actually put a sofa inside, someone to come and sit down. I don't know why, but the way it designed, it felt like that should just be there. Now you can see there is a mat in the library just sitting on the floor as well. Now there is somewhere you could put a chessboard. I just left the mat there. I thought it just broke up the floor. I didn't think another chessboard was quite right, but at the base game at the moment, with only this and a small expansion add-on, there wasn't many items to put in the library, so I'm leaving that open. If you have an idea, please by all means put something in there, but for the time being the mat is just there as a placeholder. So working on the second floor now, the floor style very similar. This is just a single mosaic floor. Again, it's one of those designs that I just really fell in love with when I made, and just wanted to use in every room, and I knew I couldn't, so I made do just by using it in a couple of the rooms. So the main entrance hall, just a couple of lights, a few stairs up to the top floor, and just a couple of archways again. As I said, I wanted to open this build up so much and have less of regimented rooms and more places your Sims could just walk around. Does come at a price that, as I said earlier, Sims can walk freely around your house, but unfortunately it's a small price to pay. So here is the one of the small bedrooms. Now this is a small bedroom, don't get me wrong. There are two on each side, pretty much a mirror image of one another, just a slight colour change. So this is the green bedroom, as I call it. Everything in here sort of greens and pale shades of blue, with the exception of the clocks that are sort of a purple wood, but I think it gave them a contrast on the main counter. So something that I do believe was a good design choice in the end, but again, other people, your mileage may vary and you may want to change that. A nice sitting area here, again straight off the entrance hall, so I didn't want anything too complex, nothing to clutter it up, but just a nice table, chairs. I do opt for a lighter wood in the end as well to give it that separation. The dark wood on the sort of beige wood we've got going on just didn't look right. Nice little study area as well, using one of the unlocked items in there. Again though, a large amount of open space up here, again to allow you to put down pretty much whatever you want in there. If you can think of something to put in there you want to do, please by all means go ahead. The problem is, because there's so much modern and futuristic stuff, to stick with these classic style builds, there aren't many items. So but stay tuned, there could be some modern builds coming into the future, wink wink. So as we move into the final bedroom on the top floor, this is the master bedroom and balcony. Now the balcony is something that I think is just a subtle but nice touch, so I'm quite pleased with how it turned out. So the main master bedroom, usually I opt for red, this time I've gone for a nice blue, placing down a nice black wood border and a blue wood centre to make it look like a mat. Just going around tidying up the corners to make it look nice, and again, to stick with the turrets, I actually opt, as you can see there, for the main blue floor to have the little add-on squares. I think it looked quite nice. This is another little subtle part there in the centre of the main balcony. I opt for essentially a compass out of the marble floor, using again the triangle tool with the flooring. And again, a subtle but nice touch. It breaks up the floor and makes it look less plain without keep using mats. So I think mats and rugs will only get you so far. The main master bedroom just finishing off now, just a nice sort of open area, a few curtains in there, a couple of dressers and a nice screen in the mirror, and that pretty much concludes the actual Blackwater Castle build itself. So just to leave you with some glamour shots now of the overall build. Obviously, you know as usual that all my builds are really well thought out. This is one of my more thought out builds, so I do hope you enjoy it. If you do want to download it for yourself, you can do it at the Mysterious Mr. Ryan page on the Sims 4 gallery. Don't forget obviously to hit the like and subscribe button down below. Also, don't forget to check out the link to my sponsors, Gladiator PC, in the description down below. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mysterious Mr. Ryan. This has been the Blackwater Castle build, and I'm out. I'll see you later, take care, and have a good one.